I just felt like it got to some gut level facts about the story and how the story operated. And I just never imagined any other title for the book.
Hello, I'm Derek Cash with the North Little Rock Public Library System and want to welcome you to Meet the Author. Joining us today is John Vanderslice to enthrall and capture our attention in a harrowing page-turning thriller with his novel, Nous Nous. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Let me start out by there was something in your book where you have a section, I'll just delve right into it, where Miss Angel teaches French. And I'm just wondering, based on the title, do you speak French?
That's a good question. I am trying to speak French. Every day I try to get better at French. That's an answer. My wife and I actually have a house in France.
Oh my goodness.
When I am there, I am forced to speak French, although not well. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
curious.
so I mean, I didn't study French. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just wondering, with a title like
I,
New New, did your editor, I mean, your publisher, I'm not making fun of the title, but for Middle America, especially in Arkansas, with a title like New New, did you
yeah,
worry that it wouldn't sell because it would look like it was
yeah.
too intellectual?
Oh, wow. I actually didn't think about that. Um, I, it was I assigned the title, and I think when it was very early in the drafting process, I, uh, I wrote the line that explained how that verb works, and that's it's reflexive, and it kind of encapsulates everyone. And English doesn't have the exact equivalent of that. And it occurred to me like, wow, this is such a broad book with so many perspectives. It just felt to me like the correct title. And my publisher never questioned it or suggested that it would be unapproachable for that reason. Although I've had people mispronounce the title a lot and try to ask me to explain it, and I do the best I can. But no, it never occurred to me that the title should be a barrier. Although now that you're saying that, now I'm worried that it could be. Um, uh, I just felt like it got to some gut level facts about the story and how the story operated, and I just never imagined any other title for the book.
Okay. All right. All right, then we'll just leave it at that because the subject itself, if people hear about what the book is about, even if they don't understand why you've got the title New New, they'll just disregard it and just think it's just, I don't
Yeah.
know, some maybe editor's trick or something like that. Okay. Let me get into
Oh,
some of
okay.
the aspects of the novel that I picked up on, not so much themes, but I just wanted to comment on. At the very beginning of the book, on page 21, I'm not going to quote from it. One of the women approaches Mr. Bain about his child, and he more or less says something to the effect like, well, she's not around anymore. And she says, she goes on later and she says, like, well, how is she doing? And you're thinking, first thing I thought of is people can really be incredibly stupid or bad mannered. And I thought you picked that up so well. If you deal with the public, you'll get people who make comments. How can you be this way? But you wrote it so brilliantly.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, you know, um, this whole novel was sort of as for the drafting process was rather seat of the pants, and I didn't exactly know what the book was I was writing when I first started it. And all I knew was that to keep going, I switched my point of view character. So um, as the scene progressed, I just had the dialogue work what it did. And I think I only realized in that chapter, oh, yes, Bane's daughter has been kidnapped. He's been through this experience himself. And then I realized, hey, that would make a really interesting juxtaposition for him as a character, because you are then immediately sympathetic with him, while at the same time, what he's doing makes you realize you're supposed to be suspicious and on guard about him. So I like that dual aspects of his personality, and I just wanted to see what the heck is this story that I'm telling. And I will admit that I wrote the first draft of this while I was teaching a course on novel writing. And in that course, my students were required to draft novels. And I told them, I said, well, I'm not going to ask you to do something I won't do myself. So I drafted my novel in that course. I got some wonderful ideas from the students, kind of working around the margins of suggestions. But pretty much I was doing what they were doing, which is week by week, just trying to keep going. And Bane's character and his background just developed slowly over the course of doing it. And of course, there was a lot of editing involved. Mm-hmm. And I got some wonderful suggestions from my editor at Braddock Avenue Books. But that's pretty much what it was. I was writing the scene that seemed legit, and those facts came out about him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Even though this book is fiction, when the reader gets into the part of the kidnapping of Janine by Bane, it is one of the most fascinating scenes, fascinating writing I have ever read. You read how he thinks. It is long and detailed, suspenseful, frightening. It's like you're watching a documentary of a serial murderer, of something. How were you ever able to do that? Yes. to keep it as long as it was, and it's not boring or anything? But I mean, some people would just maybe write it in 2 pages. I don't know how many pages it was. I didn't write it down, but it was incredibly brilliant writing. I just was enthralled by it.
Well, okay. Yeah. People have asked me how we were able to get inside the head of such a flawed monster. And I think what it was is I had to make it believable that this man, who is not completely evil and even feels justified, could do what he's doing and could convince a very smart girl to come along with him. And I knew I had my work cut out for me. So I felt like I had to elaborate on the scene and let him slowly persuade her and have her come up with questions and have him be able to answer the questions. So that I could see someone saying, wait a minute, in this day and age, how could a smart girl just walk off with a stranger? It doesn't seem possible. So I don't know, instinctively, I had to play it out so that the reader follows along every step of the way and understands how she finally could and as you know, she even throws test questions to him, which he is able to navigate around to an extent, until finally she realizes the truth when it's too late. But I wanted to play out the scenes. I mean, to me, fiction writing, I tell my students this, it's about scene making. And if you're not into making scenes, then there's another kind of writing that you'll need to be doing. It's fiction writing and screenplay writing are very kin to one another, because it has to be shown on the page, or the reader doesn't understand it and doesn't believe it. Dialogue is crucial to me. I love well-written dialogue, and I like writing dialogue. And I always tell my students, well, if I don't hear what your characters are saying, they're never real to me. People are only real on the page when they are given agency to talk. So part of it was just pure, now this sounds weird for the scene that it was, pure fun in the writing to see how this scene could play out with the back and forth between them, and how he could convince her. it was just the fun of fiction writing. But at the same time, I wanted to convince the reader that he could do it.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I think it worked.
Oh, I think it did. Yes. Having said that,
Yeah.
though, it disappointed me, and I almost don't even know if I believe it. I don't have guests on the show to say you're a bad writer or criticize your writing. There's no point in that. But it disappointed me that Bain did not know how he was going to murder her. I thought, as brilliant as a person as he was, he should have had that all thought out. And I
Yeah.
thought, why did you do this? Because it just
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think Bain wasn't sure he was going to murder her. He might
Ah,
have told himself that oh yeah, I'll do that. I don't actually think he had it in himself. He told himself, but because he wasn't the kind of person, he was a monster, but not so much of a monster as to do that on purpose. That he just played out these scenarios in his head, and he convinced himself, well, when the time comes, I'll be able to do it. But when the time, and well, I don't know spoilers, but he doesn't go through with that particular aspect of his plan. And what he really wanted to do, I think, which is the really dark part of it, he just wanted to hurt somebody,
mm,
namely Janine's parents. So he did accomplish that even without needing to kill her. He had
mhm.
accomplished what he set out to do. Really, I mean, I'm not saying he thought of it consciously that way, but that's, I think, in fact, true. But I never saw him as capable of conscious murder. I guess I was holding back a little tiny bit of humanity on him.
Okay.
That he almost, in the scene in which they're together at the house he takes her to, it was almost funny sometimes because he was acting like a parent to her, um, as if she was a substitute for his own daughter. At the same time, thinking about how he was going to finally do away with her, and it's a bizarre scene. But I was aware of it was actually funny in some ways, darkly funny. That he was not aware of the irony himself. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's how I interpreted him.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, I think you are. Yes. Okay. Eh, so yes, I think you have answered it. It's not cut. Not the expression cut and dry. It's not necessarily black and white, and so that's perfectly all right. The way you've analyzed it from
Yeah,
his perspective, that sort of thing. So yes, I think you have
yeah,
answered the question. Now that Janine has been kidnapped, let's segue into Elizabeth.
right.
Okay, normally I don't use
Yeah.
obscenities in the interviews, but I think Elizabeth is an A1 bitch. I mean, I couldn't stand her, but you do it,
Oh,
and I couldn't
okay.
stand her. I thought she was a brilliant.
Interesting. Really?
I thought you did a brilliant job. You know how you can sometimes not like someone, and then you just close the book and go on to another book. You wrote her in such a way that you couldn't
Yeah,
like her,
yeah,
but you still wanted to read her. I found her irritating when she was arguing with the
yeah,
school principal, blaming them. Now, I realize you can say, well, you're not a parent of a child who's been missing and you're
yeah.
hysterical. But I thought she
Right,
wanted to blame them for things that were out of their control.
right.
Um, she treated her husband
Right.
bad by texting him. Why didn't she call him? This is, texts take time. I thought, it was everything. She blamed everyone else. The school was doing everything wrong. The atmosphere of that whole scene
Yeah,
was unbearably stressful. I thought I wanted to slap her like, I'm
yeah.
an intellectual. I know more than you. You guys are doing a terrible job, but you did a great job in it. I mean, I hated her as much as I hated
Yeah.
Bane. Comment is what I
Oh
want to
my
say.
God. Well, that's really interesting to hear you say that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The way I saw Elizabeth is that the truth is, well, this comes out later in the book. she blames herself for everything. Yes, she's really pissed at her husband for the way their marriage went. She is annoyed at the people, but honestly, in the moment, she's reacting emotionally as a mother whose daughter is missing, and
Yes.
all the guilt she's feeling comes out directed against them. So they become the people who bear the burden of her wrath because she's not quite ready to put it on herself yet. But eventually she does. Eventually she does. Um, I find her a really compelling character because A, she's in a difficult situation because the sexism she faces in her job as a woman pastor,
Yes.
um, which I actually have heard some things from women priests that helped me write that,
Okay.
which is not to say they all face sexism, but there are a few little tidbits that I drew from actual conversations. Uh, and yes, she's very smart. And yes, her husband did the wrong thing. And but finally, she's the one who didn't show up on time, and so she finally blames the reality of her own guilt, taking it out on other people. And it felt, I don't know, in the moment, it felt realistic to me.
Okay. All right. Having said that, though, I think the introduction of Officer Johnson is it kind of, only because of my
Oh yeah.
perspective reading it, I just thought if in a way, if this keeps up, I'm not going to be able to finish this. He calms her down by saying things like, you've got to get more
Yes.
than one perspective. You've got to
Yes.
get several witnesses to put it all together. I thought, oh, thank heaven, this kind of
Right.
saves the scene. Otherwise, you can't put up with this hysterical woman any longer. And it just kind of, calm down, ma'am. This is why we're doing our job. This is how we, it's more or less like the principal's not totally at
Right.
fault. We're not all stupid here, And so I'm glad you introduced him to kind of help kind of calm things
Right.
down in the story.
I love him as a character. I
Uh-huh.
really enjoyed writing the scenes when he was in that. He and Angel are actually my two favorite characters in the book. They are probably the most redeemable people in the entire novel. And he certainly, I think, as you say, keeps her from getting out of control, keeps things focused on what they need to be focused on. I'm not ever been a policeman. I can't say I know policemen personally, but I
Uh-huh.
feel like that's would be their job in a very stressful situation like that, is to remind people what it is they're trying to accomplish and let them not get sidetracked and present choices to them so that they make informed choices. Whereas it is, if he buys into her anxiety and her stress, that it's all over. His job is to solve the situation, and he does the best he can. That's how I read it.
Okay. I'm gonna talk about something that's totally,
I'm glad you liked it, though.
oh yeah, gets off the track a little bit, but something that you brought up in the novel, and I don't mean to back you into a corner, but you've got a section where you sort of criticize or you don't like church or church people, Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals. How do you feel, or why was it put in the book? I mean, this is Arkansas. I'm not saying that it took away from it, but it kind of struck me is because it was just sort of like, wow, we're going along with this story, and then
Okay.
all of a sudden this pops
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting you should ask that question. No one's ever asked me that before. Um, okay. I am a churchgoer myself. I've been going to church my entire life.
Hmm.
Um, I was actually raised Catholic and was a practicing Catholic for a long time. It may not surprise you to learn I am now a practicing Episcopalian. So uh, I feel, I will say of fellow Episcopalians, sometimes we feel like, I don't know where people get their ideas of Christianity from. I feel like as an Episcopalian, sometimes you're living in a reverse world as far as Christianity goes. Like, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to believe this? And there are people preaching this.
Ah,
So, and this would be especially important to Elizabeth because that's
yes.
not only her her job, but it's her chosen life.
Uh-huh.
This is what she cares about deeply and tries to help. And actually, my favorite scene might have been where this, not exactly answering your question, but my favorite scene where she is effectively counseling Bane on his
Hmm.
pain,
Yes.
because that's exactly what her training and her instincts are, even though at the same time she wants to strangle him because he's holding her daughter. So that scene is where I felt like everything came together in the novel that I was trying to develop separately. It all came together in that scene. And it sounds weird because it's such a tense scene, but I had a lot of fun writing it.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to conclude by making one more statement question. I think it kind of redeems Elizabeth. She's willing to forgive
Okay.
Bane, but she cannot forgive herself. And so
Yeah.
it kind of at the end of the book
Yeah.
saves her in a way. But comment on that and why you did that the way you did. I mean, because she's a
Okay.
practicing priest, she should know to be able to forgive herself. God would forgive her
Yeah.
because she's been justified.
Yeah.
You know, she's got an anger that's justified.
Well, it's interesting you asked that because I actually met with a group of people at my own church who had read the book, and our priest was leading the discussion, and he said, "I feel like this book is all about forgiveness and the nature of forgiveness." And I hadn't actually thought of it that way, but of course he's right. He was
Hmm.
right. Um, and I'll say to you what I said to him is like, I actually feel like the hardest people to forgive are yourself. Well, sometimes it's hard to forgive. Other times it's even harder to, because I don't know, I guess we like to think of ourselves as being really smart and moral and making the right decisions all the time. And then when you face the fact that you really blew it and you
Hmm.
really did not do the right thing, there's a lot of anger towards yourself, I mean. And I do think I guess I just think it's sometimes harder to forgive ourselves than other people. And um, Elizabeth is in the profession of forgiving other people and encouraging people to forgive other
Hmm.
people. So she can preach that and live it as a profession. But when it comes down to doing it for herself, I just felt like, given what happened and how much blame she holds against herself, that would be a hard thing to do. I
Okay.
mean, I can't imagine the pain of losing a child and feeling like you're partly responsible for that. I, I don't know if I'd ever be able to forgive myself, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I don't know what that says about me, but I feel like that's how I would be.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
understand that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, John, I'm sorry I ruined your your book by giving a
No,
spoiler.
it's okay.
But at the same point, though, this has been a fabulous interview. I'm
That's okay.
so glad we got to interview you. I'm so glad that you were here. Why don't you tell the audience if they're
Oh,
interested in buying your book or getting your book, how,
okay.
or if they want to contact you, how they can contact you?
Yeah, sure. Um, I have an author website where they can order copies of the book, and you can also contact me. It's johnvanderslicebooks.com. Very simple. Um, and it's got bio about me. It's got information about each of the books I published, and it's got ways to order them and ways to contact me. So that would be the best thing for them to do.
Okay, very good. Oh, once again, thank you. And thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you, Dave.
Uh-huh. If you're interested in reading New New,
All
you
right.
can check it out from the library or purchase it wherever books are sold. Also, you can find more information at braddockavenuebooks.com or at our website, nlrlibrary.org. Thank you for joining us and have a great day, everyone.